Lior, CEO, founder of Blanket, is one of my favorite storytellers in the industry. I think definitely one of my favorite hangs in the industry as well. Lior, good to have you, man. You want to say hi to everybody?
Likewise, it's a pleasure to be here, guys.
Cool.
Very, very important topic today.
Yeah,
Very important.
agreed. Agreed. Sina and I just met for the first time at Rentvine's Be Heard, but I know of Sina very much. She's one of the smartest guys you're going to hear talking about AI. I think you're like a Stanford adjunct professor or something like that, right, Sina?
It's a passion project at best. But yes, thanks for having me here and really excited to talk about AI.
Yeah, man, cool. And then Randall, I think Randall, if there's one thing to say about him is that he's the best dancer in the industry by far. I just got out of the Grand Canyon with Randall, where he led a group of 25 property managers through there, and I must say, him and his wife are like the best couples hang I've ever had. Randall, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, man. Happy to be here and very privileged to share the stage with Sina and Lior. Wow, you guys, I respect both of them so much. And so it's fun to be here with you guys.
Yeah, and I'll just say this right now because I'm having massive imposter syndrome. I see myself as more of a reporter on AI, and I'm very curious about it and ask questions and I learn from people. I think you guys are very much more technical than I am as far as like understanding how the stuff behind the scene works. So Lior, I know that you had when we were kind of like doing the warm up, you have like a real viewpoint and framework of how you approach AI. Do you want to share that with us?
Sure. I'll give the story of how our AI works at Blanket because it's a great representation of understanding where the opportunities for us to have a clear view on where AI could really move the needle for us and what we have to have in place for the AI to really move the needle for us. So I look at it in four steps. Like imagine the AI as like a researcher, right? That tries to look at this flow of data, like imagine a stream of data, and there is something that starts this flow. Like let's see it as a water drop that water runs through this pipe. There's something at the end of this pipe. There's some kind of a result. There's some kind of an outcome. So the first step in this flow is always the data. What is the data that we're working with? How organized is it? How clean is it? How standardized is it? Can we actually use that data to derive more complex insights? And this is normally the second step in this flow, because if we have the data readily accessible, comprehensive, and easy to work with, we can start deriving insights. And after we have insights, and insights can be also some type of a data, just more structured, because there might be a lot of different data sources, PDFs, spreadsheets, databases on the cloud, and a lot of other things, chat, text, images, you name it. Something can be created out of all of this into a single line of a text, which can be an insight. After I have these insights, I can then start looking at them and thinking, what is like the best next step that I should take, right? So this is what we call, at least internally, the recommendation on the next step. So I got the data, I got the insights, I understood what should be the next step, and then we have the actual outcome. Then we have the action, right? So if Pablo, you're talking a lot about the agentic AI, right? So this is
Mhm.
really the next level. So the agentic AI sort of like goes through this flow. It understands the data, it drives the insights to something that it can understand, create some kind of an understanding or recommendation to itself on what should be the outcome, and then it actually does that process or that action. And that action can be maybe just a simple email. Like it could be an AI generated email, it could be an AI generated phone call script, or it can be an actual AI receptionist, right? That answers the call and conducts a conversation based on all the recommendation and insights and the data that enable this entire flow. So that like these four steps of data, insights, recommendations, and the action, the outcome, this is how we look at AI. And if I was a company owner looking at it from a property management perspective, I would ask myself, do I have all the data readily accessible? Is it organized? Is it standardized? Because if you throw AI at it, it might do a good job, but maybe not necessarily a great job. It might miss certain things, right? Because maybe I don't have all the data that's required for the outcome that I want it to have. And this is where we might sometimes have an unrealistic expectation. Like we imagine if we'll throw AI at the problem, magic will happen. It will solve all of our problems, right? But it requires a little bit of work. It requires a little bit of preparation on our end to make sure that the AI, as a person, has all the tools that it needs to succeed, and also it requires some, support, some guidance. Same as a human being, right? The AI, when you implement it, it also learns how you expect it to work. It learns what you prefer to do in certain situations. So there's also some kind of a ramp up. So taking all that into consideration and understanding that flow, this is how we at least operate all of our AI algorithms to really make sure that we are not also missing anything. And that's the same thing as if we were implementing AI in our business as well.
Thanks for that, Lior. Sina, you guys have come out with a bunch of agents also, right? Like this like agentic side of it. The way that I've been explained the data in agentic, it's or at least the way that I explain generative versus agentic, it's kind of like generative is like the genie that you rub the lamp, you ask for a wish and it grants it, and then you got to rub it again. Agentic is like the Terminator that's programmed to do a job. And then I've heard that when it comes to the data, like the true data around agentic is kind of like something that folks haven't really, like, we have data, we have theses around it, but like how to actually turn agentic, turn data into agentic, forgive me if I'm saying it wrong, is like a new thing that everybody's kind of developing at the same time. Is that about accurate? Like you're the super technical guy that can explain this. Can you kind of like give me a grade on that, correct it, kind of shed some light on that?
I totally will, but like just for the fact that there's probably a lot of people on this call who are not technical, I
Yeah,
want to tell a tiny little story.
cool.
It's
Yeah, please.
one that maybe Randall will appreciate. So two hikers go into the woods, right? They see a huge bear, right? The bear is massive, grizzly, looks at them. Two of the hikers look at each other. One of them bends down to tie his shoes. You probably heard this one. One guy's like, "What are you doing? We got to run." And the hiker who's tying his shoes says, "I just have to outrun you." And that's the thing about AI is like it's everyone's going after it right now, and we all know it has a purpose and that it's going to change things. It's reshaping leasing, maintenance, screening, the whole resident experience. The efficiency gains are real, but the thing is, there has to be like a thoughtful implementation of it to make sure that you kind of roll it out correctly. You're right. There's different types of AI too. There's agentic, which is like you said it well, it's like a Terminator. It doesn't have to be, but I mean, in essence, some people doll up AI to make it sound like it's human and you can talk to it about the weather. I personally don't like that. I like AI that just gets me the information I need because I think the main thing about AI is that it has to work alongside a human. AI is not going to take your job. It's going to take the job of the person on your team that doesn't know how to use it. And that's the reality. And more importantly, AI needs a lot of information so that it can work really well. If your information sitting in a bunch of silos, it has no access to it. And now your humans are copying and pasting a bunch of information to it so it can figure something out. That's not good. So I think, again, you have to start to take a step back and think about your tech stack to make AI really kind of work well. And that's a really good argument for like playing with players who want to work with each other and platforms like Rentvine that are wide open, that give me my data, let me do things with it. But I want to touch on a couple of things that we didn't talk about that are super important. As we prep for AI, there's a lot of variables in there. There's like the human element of it, like how's my team going to feel about this? What do I do with this? How do I position it to them? How do I make them feel like it's not going to take away their jobs? We just hired a bunch of RTMs. What are their roles going to be? There's all these things, but there's something even more fundamental in AI that people don't pay attention to. Like that Terminator, Pablo, you were just talking about, that's going to call you or you call it. You better be thinking about putting language in your lease agreements right now that are going to kind of have explicit terms that say AI tools and automated calls and texts and pre-recorded voice messages will be used to communicate with you. Now, why is that so important? Because there's this thing called the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. the TCPA. And compliance with that's pretty damn important because robocalling is no bueno. And if you do it, you will get slapped with a pretty heavy fine. So we have this really wonderful tool under our belt called a lease agreement where someone has to sign it before they go into my home. Why don't we use that as a place to get that consent? So there's absolutely no ambiguity on what's going on. I'm going to put that in my Rentvine lease agreement, use RentSign to have it signed, and I got no problems with it ever again. So when that person tells me, hey, you're calling me and I didn't give you permission, it's written there. Now that's really important because as we get over the tips of our skis, like the chat's full of great AI tools, that's wonderful. Some of those tools are going to interface with your customers. Those are the agentic ones. And it's very important to think about some of the compliance and ways that you handle these things before you just start going willy-nilly. And you have to be thoughtful about talking to your team about AI as being a teammate, not a threat. I don't really love the idea of AI for the sake of AI. It has to kind of integrate into where people work so that they feel like it's empowering them. It's giving them the information that they need. It needs to be able to hand things off gracefully, not let them fall into a black hole. You know, I always see all these funny things that say like, oh, I called this line and I tested. I told it, where do I hide a dead body? Okay, that's funny, but that's not really the point. The point of AI is you've got a whole bunch of leasing agents or a BDR who's supposed to be answering the phone, but he's on a call. And the next call, instead of going to a voicemail, can go to a really intelligent agent that can get the information it needs and tee that person up for success next. Not to act like it's a person when it doesn't need to act like it's a person. Announce that it is AI and it's trying to save them from the BS of waiting forever for someone to get back to them. So I really do think that there's a couple quotes in here which are worth like kind of closing on from my perspective is AI is only as smart as the systems and the people behind it. If you don't put your information in a place where it can access it, it's not going to be very good. If you don't have people who are constantly training it and paying attention to it, it's not a set it and forget it thing. It's, you know, don't chase after shiny tools. Build it into the customer journey, intelligently look at where it's supposed to go. Lior gave you some really great examples. Maybe it flew over some of your heads, but what he was really trying to say is think about where AI fits in and where it hands off things and train it like you train a totally completely noob in your business that knows nothing about anything because you literally have to treat it like that. And if you do it really well, it's going to really move the needle for you. So anyways, hopefully I answered your question.
I mean,
Amen.
I don't even remember the question, but your answer was great.
Yeah. Amen. Amen to
Let's go.
that.
Yeah. I telling by the chat, I think you answered many questions, my friend. Randall, you know, you're pretty passionate about this like existential threat discussion. I feel like the existential threat discussion's coming up. I feel like I pushed the envelope on it. I was talking about the Fiverr guy, not me. I have my own way of saying it, but like how do you want to talk about the existential threat discussion?
Pablo, you're a great evangelist, man. I love that you kind of light the fire and pour gasoline on it, and then we'll sort out kind of where it falls, where the chips fall, and I love that because it does ask the right questions. But I just want to make two quick points because Sina and Lior kind of covered a lot of the technical side and how to integrate that in the business. Remember, though, that property management is at its core a relationship business. Every single person on this call knows that because most of our investors that we work with in the NARPM crowd and the SFR space, they're people who only have one or two properties. In fact, 90% of the single family homes for rent in the United States are owned by someone who only owns one or two. So it represents their largest investment. The reason why no one's been able to roll up property management across the country and dominate the space is because people are still choosing a property manager based on the relationship that they have. It is a people first business. And so, yes, there are many opportunities to integrate AI, as has been mentioned, through generative AI. And agentic AI is kind of that next phase, but it is a very big step. And so I would just say, remember what's at the core of your business. If AI can make it easier for you to build your relationships with your owners, then hell yes, run with that. Do that all day long. But just be careful of giving up the reason why property managers are chosen. And when you rank the 10 reasons why a property manager is chosen, do you know what's number 10? The price, the cost. But do you know what's number 1? The availability of the manager and honesty and integrity. Like that speaks volume to where like the choice is being made from a consumer. And then the other side of kind of zooming out in the space, property management at its core is very process oriented. Aptly has done an amazing job, and others in the space, of just helping to kind of get those processes organized and done and scalable for your whole team. And this is an area where AI can come in and dominate and help you move something forward. So what I like to tell our clients and customers and other people, property managers that I've worked with, is go through the exercise of doing, grabbing a process and then doing a customer journey mapping, as I call it. So like, above the line is where things are touching the customer. Below the line is all the team things that have to be done across different departments to get that process across the finish line. Onboarding an owner is the perfect example of a complex process where there are probably so many things below the line that could be made faster, easier, better with generative AI. I will say that. So at Rentvine, we're very much pursuing both sides. Generative, we already have 4 major functionalities inside of Rentvine that are on par with anybody in the space. And then agentic is kind of that new area where, look, front of house, maintenance, accounting and bookkeeping, and leasing are the 4 areas that we're looking at for agentic type of developments. But hopefully that can help to get that in perspective. Remember who you are in this business.
Randall, you made me realize like you're basically saying like elevate the human. AI is supposed to elevate the human. And
Yeah.
you're totally right. People want to be able to still pick up the phone and call the owner of the company or the manager of the company to get something done when it needs to be done. It's not even lost on me. A lot of my customers, when they're hitting a massive roadblock, they just send me an email. I respond right away. And I have that luxury because I'm kind of shielded from all the other stuff. So you said it best, man. You're elevating the kind of the customer experience by making people available where they need to be.
Yeah, that's
Empowerment.
Yeah,
Yep.
I couldn't agree more with that, Sina. I think that's where it's all taken me, right? Like for me, the idea of like relationships over transactions is very much a core value for me. And where I'm seeing it, or at least the way that we talk about it, is this idea that there's so many tasks inside of property management, right? Like you said, Randall, you got some processes and you can automate that stuff. You can add some agents with some pretty good guardrails. And there's so many tasks that don't necessarily move the needle, when then there's some moments that truly move the needle. And the key is to make yourself available for those moments. And if you can, like we say, automate the mundane, elevate the critical, and these kinds of things to the people, it doesn't have to be a message of replacing workforce as much as elevation. Don't you rather be doing this thing that moves the needle as opposed to makes you have to drink 35 cups of coffee and like get the jitters all the time, right? But within that is the idea that some of these tasks are going to go away, are they not? Like how do we reconcile the idea that we are going to elevate employees to do more meaningful things while other tasks are going away? Like, how are you guys seeing this in your companies?
I think the clarification in general that is important on this topic is that when we're looking at AI solutions for processes or anything in our business, it's not all or nothing.
Yeah.
It's not like, okay, I want to automate my leasing process. It's not like I have to, when I'm thinking about AI, it's not like I'm going to let the AI do everything in the leasing process, right? So it's important to ask ourselves, where am I comfortable or where am I ready to insert AI into the process with all the fundamental assumptions that we talked about here in this conversation? Is like, again, data, clarity, accessibility, etc., and all those things. Where is the AI can really move the needle, and where am I feeling comfortable with it? So like imagine it like, like letting your kid, walk around in the park alone. Like there are some boundaries, right? You don't want your kid to go out where it's close to the road or something like that because you fear that, right? So same here with AI. Where do you feel comfortable letting the AI go, roam free? Is it up until the moment of actually talking with the tenant? Is it, and if it's the owner, is it up until the moment of actually having a call with the owner? Or is it up until the moment where we send an email to the owner? Or is it even before that? Is it just up until the AI generates an email and I want to be the one who approves it and then sends it? Like, where do you feel comfortable of letting that, stop with AI automating everything? And where are you ready in I would say efficient enough to let it do its work to the fullest extent? So that's how we're seeing it in our company as well. We, with that same perspective of empowerment, we want to still be that face that you see in the hallways of every conference. And this is the same face that's going to talk with you in the Zoom meeting or over the phone. But we know that we're a people industry. Like, we're friends with one another. We stay at the bar until 2 a.m. at every, conference night. So like, I'm imagining myself, how would that feel if somebody would call me and talk with an AI? Like, that's the thing that I personally don't want to. Can we do it? We definitely can. There are so many AI agents out there that I can let, just manage my phone calls. But do I want that? Not necessarily. Again, this is a individual decision that we have. But other things like, administrative tasks or things like that, where I'm not afraid to lose that special human touch, let's do it. Who cares? Like, I don't care for anything to break there. So that's how we see it, is like where we feel comfortable of letting it run to its fullest extent, and where are we also ready to really let it do a job effectively.
But you have definitely proved that doing the unscalable scales based on how much you show up everywhere and the trust that you've built in the market. Randall, you had a hand up. We're a little bit
Shout out
over
to
time.
my
You had a
wife.
hand up. I want to let you go. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, no, I just want to say I'll give a real world example, because we talked about maybe companies who have built out, and Sina, you touched on this. Maybe you've built out your policy manuals and procedures, and you want to input that into an AI LLM of some kind so that your employees can get trained easily and can return, what to do in every situation. At Rentvine, we have a massive user knowledge base, or like a knowledge base that is publicly available. We looked at an AI technology to put that knowledge base into kind of the back end and deliver in software as people needed it. What do I need to do next for this step? The reason why we didn't roll that out is because in our testing, we found that it was giving advice that was not always correct, depending on the state, depending on the situation, depending on how to handle security deposits right in terms of property management. So we have held on that type of tech. We're very careful to allow property managers to make that decision for how they want to run their business, and to keep CYA for us to not get sued because we gave terrible advice on handling a security deposit account. So, it's just finding that balance and kind of like remembering that it's only as good as the data that you put in when you're doing that type of work.
Randall, just one closing thought on that too. I think a lot of people on this call don't really have a person in their office that can have the luxury of making this their job, right? So a lot of people who are listening to this are like, this is awesome, but who the hell is going to run with this in my office, right? And we see this a lot when you're implementing workflow automation and the things that we do at Aptly and all the integrations with all the tools. It's become kind of obvious that there's a new role that AI is accelerating, which is having a person within your staff who's going to be tasked with understanding all the recent technology, how it's going to kind of fit in everywhere, and more importantly, how do I implement it? How do I test things? How do I see if it's working, if it's not? The example you gave was great, because someone on your team was like, this is not working, we're pulling out. But we're not done. We're going to keep coming back and try this again and again. I think that this is a role that every single person on this call needs to start thinking about hiring or adopting somebody, because there's always that younger, more hungry person maybe, or just somebody who loves tech in your office who's going to say, I want to be that person. Give them the chance. Put them through those classes. Let them go learn these things, because I'm going to guess most of the people on this call just don't have the time for it or the appetite.
Excellent call, Sina. That's a great transition into Jay right now. It's almost like you were set here for that one. Sina, thank you so much for being here. Lior, thank you so much for being here. Randall, thank you so much for being here. I feel smarter just by like being in this same like picture frame right here. I want to take a picture so everybody thinks I'm as smart as you guys. But that being said, another super smart guy. Jay, what do you think about